I get mad zooted, I got this bad thing I recruited.
I hope everyone's doing well and welcome back to another weekly outlook. So cool. Now, for those of you guys that have been sort of watching along from the start of the year, there's been about, I think about maybe this is the 5th weekly outlook. We had one going into the year, and then since then one every single week, and a couple mid-week outlooks in between. And I would have already mentioned this, but something that I like to do, especially right as we come into a new month, is just always start on a monthly chart, right? This is of course obvious knowledge, but always mark the highs and lows, right? Or at least have them in mind. You don't necessarily need to mark the high here, but it gives you an idea of when you could be expecting a retracement on price or a potential area for reversal. So for example, right, if I had to bet on a bias, it's likely based on this candle, as we've been saying for the whole previous month, that we are likely seeing lower prices from here. I think price has met its objective running this buy side and has now traded back into the range. Right. When we go on a weekly chart, see, right, we've had a decent push down across the last couple of weeks. We've hit a weekly fair value gap. Yeah, that is 4.4. Well, that is our previous monthly low for the time being, also previous weekly low. And as you guys can see, right, we've had what I would call a daily market structure shift as well, right? For me to sort of confirm this as a daily market structure shift, I'd like to see a continuation through this price level, right? I want to see price push lower. I don't want to see, how it is right now, where we've sort of got kind of like a weekly IO fed, right? If you guys see, we've, swept a little bit of sell side, went into this value gap, and there's a possibility we can push higher from here. But if I had to bet for the time being, we'd like to see the bond yields lower, right? And in turn, DXY lower, and we have that framework we spoke about last time. If we can really get a kick down here, right, we can start talking about targeting this sell side and this sell side, the bottom of this sort of consolidation, and potentially even down to there in the sort of longer term, right? So now, again, based off this monthly candle, what is likely, considering the proximity of the candle, is that as the month opens, we may get quite a quick move down here, taking the previous monthly low. That might then set the price up for a retracement and then a continuation in this direction. So just to make that much clearer and why the previous monthly low has significance in this specific scenario, what I'm essentially getting at is, as the new month opens, right, typically what people are probably thinking, right, let's say new monthly candle opens, oh, it's going to be a bearish month, so we're going to accumulate a little bit maybe, and then we're going to go up, manipulate, and then distribute. That's it, right? That is what the textbook month can look like. That is what this month could even look like potentially, right? But if we are in very close proximity to a certain level like this, where you might see, okay, cool, you might have a couple slow days, and then you might run this previous monthly low, right? And then from there, have the retracement, and then just get the continuation. And what's happening here is you're essentially not putting in the high of the month in some way that we might say is textbook or very clear. But the reason for that is when you have candles like this, right? When you have very big wick candles, try to find a different example. For example, we can even go with this, right? You have a big wick candle, price has a reversal. You see how the following candle doesn't really have a massive wick. We wouldn't expect it to retrace a large amount of this wick if this truly is a swing low. This one here is not a great example, but you guys sort of get what I'm saying, right? When you have big wicks, for example, here you've got a massive wick. Next candle, we didn't necessarily anticipate it to trade in this direction and go all the way up here. Rather, it was, it's likely it's going to head this way first, and it's not going to retrace a whole load, right? So cool. So that's the sort of thing that we're looking at on the bond yields. Pay attention to this, and then quickly I'm going to look at the yields for the year as well. So it's a new month, looking very, very similar to the US 10-year. In all honesty, there's not, much difference. Even the daily chart pretty much identical, just exactly mark the same things. We'll be watching the same things, and as we come to DXY, is where I would say it's a bit less clear now, It's not great to see. This is an extremely untelling monthly candle, right? It sort of feels like this candle's done nothing because we move both ways, but we'll bang on in the middle. We've just got this body, not much to show for it, right? Just drop a time frame. Same thing. Now, here I'm a little bit undecided, right? The area that I would be watching as we come into this next week is the previous weekly high. I want to see how we treat this, right? Over here, we don't really have a fair value gap left based on this closure. And an argument can be made for this sort of OTE to push higher, especially considering the monthly candle doesn't really give us a perspective. If the monthly candle had closed even slightly lower, if it had given us a sort of bearish body and the larger wick was on this side, then it becomes easy to say, the likelihood is that we're probably going to continue this way. But I don't like how the DXY sort of, respected its fair value gap and then pushed higher. And then as we come to a daily time frame, you have what we could argue is a little bit displacement, but not really. This is just chopping its way up. So that is why I want to see what price does when we run the previous weekly high. Most likely we'll run this, we might even tap into this buy side, and then we see what it does. This is definitely a swing high that we can use all the way down to this low. So that makes this the internal range liquidity. And what I'd ideally like to see is, make its way up here, some displacement down, and then continue down. Right, that is the sort of scenario I want to potentially see for the DXY this month. Coming back to the daily time frame, right, again, as I said, it looks a little bit clearer, but from the lower time frame, you guys can see we're sort of just, chopping around, just having a bit of consolidation up. It's not great. And overall, this could all even be classed as one consolidation. So a very nice sharp run above this could be an A, M, and then distribution this way, right? But for the time being, one thing to bear in mind is if we do, right, displace higher from here, if price has a massive kick and, starts printing fair value gaps this way, it's likely we're heading back up to this high, especially considering we're coming from this weekly fair value gap that's been respected, and taking into consideration some of the things Trump has been saying, some of the things that have been rumored in the market in regards to the tariffs on Canada and other countries and whatnot, right? So cool. So coming on to EURGBP, what we can see from the monthly candle is, we had this sort of target we wanted to hit. Price did not reach that, but it did sweep 1, 2, 3, 4 of the previous monthly candles, right? We'll drop a time frame, go down to a weekly. I think it's not very clear, right? The thing is, we've swept all this buy side, we've displaced away. We don't hit this, that's not an issue, right? That's not the end of the world. It happens. Price misses a raise. And we've still made a move into the premium sweeping all this liquidity. What concerns me is this fair value gap, right? For the time being, it sort of leaves us hanging in the balance. Is price going to run lower from here, or will we potentially respect this, right? So what I would favor from here, I think, is the move lower. Because you have to consider all the things that have happened, right? Say this is the accumulation. This is a sharp energetic manipulation, which is what we like to see it run. So all the buy side, and now we have displacement to the sell side on the daily time frame. So if I had to favor a bias from here, I would favor that we continue dropping. How can we approach this, right? It's kind of similar to that earlier example I gave you guys at the start of the weekly outlook with the monthly candle. When we open, it's likely we're going to be close to this. So if we run this, right, as in the previous weekly low, it's likely you get a retracement back into your range first, and then you get the continuation. So an easy way to approach this is, right, let's say this is going to be your Sunday opening price. Draw this out, let price do its thing, see where it goes, right? Sometimes the bias from the jump is not clear. Sometimes you might be confident you're bearish, but you just don't know which way price is going to go about it. Where it's hard to build a very, good expectation with conviction, right? And that's the sort of scenario here. there's potential that price even just continues on tomorrow, or rather on Monday, sorry, and then retraces. Right. Either way, just see what it does around Sunday opening price, see how it treats this previous weekly low. If we're not getting any major displacement to this side, I would anticipate that we continue moving down. I think this is the reversal point. And from here, we can see EURGBP head lower. One thing that I should have touched on a little earlier is the news events for this week. We see ISM on the Monday for the dollar, jolts Tuesday, ADP, significant. Then this is definitely significant. This will cause, I would say, a clear good move on here on the EURGBP. So this, the interest rate decision for the pound, unemployment claims, and then of course the biggest mover at the start of every month is the NFP. All right, have your eyes on this. I think it's going to be an important one, especially considering where the DXY is and how we're saying it's sort of undecided. It's a very untelling monthly candle. On the weekly, there's a potential to go either way on the daily as well. So it might be a week, right, where you just have to be very patient. You're not doing much. And that happens, guys. And that's not something to complain about, because a good way to always look at it is like this, right? The majority of traders lose in trading, right? Across a given period of time, let's just say across a week, most traders in the world have lost individually, right? Or are in a loss. So if you sit there hands off, right? And imagine, yeah, we had to rank every trader in the world in terms of P&L, whoever's got the most profit at the top, blah, 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 so forth, all the way to the biggest loser. Just by not taking a single trade, just by being on 0% profit and loss, you're probably somewhere high up in that list, right? Purely just because you didn't do it. Capital preservation itself is a skill, right? So it's never a bad thing if things aren't clear, you just sit on the sideline and wait for them to get clear. And especially for the mentorship group, the guys who might be watching this, how we've had a good week, right? Everyone's probably hyped up thinking, let's go straight back into it, blah, blah, blah. The reason we've had a good week is because we waited for very, very clear-cut opportunities, even if they were on the lower time frame, right? So now when there's no clear-cut opportunity, at least for the time being, and there's no short-term targets and whatever it is, we just need a bit more patience. Let the candles print. I do hope, right, there's volatility in the markets are moving well, that as Feb starts and NFP takes place, then hopefully the rest of the monthly candle, we have a clear direction. Even if it's bullish, even if it's better, whichever way it is, we'll have clear targets to work towards. And that's what matters the most, right? We don't marry a bias. The bias doesn't necessarily matter to us in the sense of whether it's bullish or bearish, right? We can trade it either way. So cool. Bitcoin, not much to add from last week, if I'm being honest. It is just, stuck from this daily fair value. It's good to see that it's respecting it, and it can line us up for a sort of kick higher. But I would anticipate before we even get that kick higher, I would see this as an accumulation. It's likely, you might see another dig low. Price might come and sweep this low. This and this are pretty, equal. Might get a bit of an internal sweep on this and then potentially move higher. On the other hand, the other scenario that we could explore is if this is all one big consolidation, we sit in the premium, the next logical move could be to the downside. So unfortunately, the bias here for Bitcoin is it can either go up or it can go down. It's in a consolidation. There's no clear side to be favored. There's no clear bias to be had, in my opinion. It's a matter of just let it play out. Let's see what happens. Let's see which way we get the volatility and the displacement curve first, and then we can base it off of that. The S&P. It's quite surprised it didn't end up taking this high. Got pretty close, but oh well. Let's talk about our monthly candle first. So cool. When we have a candle coming from sweeping the sort of previous candle, sort of like I offered this sweep here, we tend to anticipate the next candle and the following ones move towards the sort of drawn liquidity, right? The next drawn liquidity. So in this scenario, because the S&P is at all-time highs, you sweep this low, you get the displacement up, automatically the next target becomes this. And from here, I would anticipate continued expansion this way. Why? Because when we look at it from the perspective of PD array matrix, this is a bullish order block. What comes after the bullish order block? Expansion. Right? Is it possible, we get some sort of a retracement? Possibly, but I still think we will run this high first. So I'll definitely mark this. Right, that's a previous monthly high / current all-time high. And as you guys can see, right, even in the past, bullish order block created, expansion. Bullish order block created, expansion. Bullish order block created. Now we got the expansion. I would anticipate in this scenario, we see it continue rather than stall here. And most likely, you want to see this with core. Why is that? Because this was the sort of last wick, or rather previous weekly low, tapping into this order block and having a strong move away, right? Wicks like this, where they've respected the array, created that display so that you expect them to hold in the market, and from here, price to run higher. So if I had to favor a side, the S&P, despite getting a bit of a kick down here, you might sweep some more of this internal sell side liquidity. You might run all the way to here, right? You might run as the next week opens back into this daily order block. Sorry, weekly order block. Turns out to be a lot of lines. We'll get rid of this. That's the obvious one anyways. Essentially, this is the weekly order block. We see price tap back into this potentially, right? Tap into this, sweep all of these 1, 2, 3 candles. It is a nice trend line that can be very easily swept here. Take all this sell side, place the low of the month, and then continue that expansion back to the highs. That's the sort of scenario we're looking for. Now, one extra thing I will leave you guys on, right? Make your life a lot easier, guys. I've spoken about this in my trade breakdowns in every video, right? And I think a lot of people might even watch these outlooks and watch the first few minutes, the first couple pairs, and call it this. So if you made it to the end, this is some extra free alpha. Most candles, as we said at the start, will give you this sort of, maybe starts with a little consolidation, manipulation, distribution, and then end back in the range somewhere, right? So what this candle ends up looking like, if you draw it out, is, let's say we open about there, make a wick to there, right? Hold that up a little bit. Make a wick to there. We start creating the body all the way down to here, but price trades a bit back into the range. And then as we trade back into range, that's your bottom wick being created, right? Now, let's assume this is a monthly candle. Now, the thing that I was saying that I've spoken about in all the weekly outlook, this is what is key, right, guys? When the candle opens, what I'll do as a rule of thumb is mark your opening price, right? This is the candle opening price. We wait for a run above this. Let's assume the candle is bearish, right? We wait for a run above this as the manipulation. Let's say this now ends up sweeping the previous candle high, right? Let's say, if I draw on an extra candle now, we had another candle like this. Take the previous monthly high, and then you start displacing lower into the range, and then what can we assume could, become the next target? Possibly the previous monthly low. Right, we swept one side and we start targeting the other side in expansion. This is assuming, right? Let's say your bias is bearish, you're expecting a bearish candle. Candle opens, runs above, and in this example, you're going to say the manipulation is into this, the previous monthly high. In a different scenario, you could be tapping into anything. You could be tapping into a weekly order block or weekly fair value gap, right? There's so many things. And then from there, price moves away. Now, why is this significant, right? Opening price, manipulation, and as you come back into this, it's usually the start of the distribution. If you guys can identify this on your monthly chart, what you are essentially able to do is see, okay, look, this is tapped into a logical place and I have displaced away, right? Emphasis on displacement. We're displacing back through that opening price. Now, what is that signifying to you? That is likely the high of the month is in. If you know the range, right, or one end of the range is in, the high has been placed, and you have a target on the other side, you can safely target this. You now know, right, assuming your bias is correct and all these boxes are ticked off, this high should not get violated, and logically the next target will be this low, possibly lower than that. So you have the area from this open price all the way to this target on a monthly level to just catch trades. Because imagine how many daily candles there are within this, and you will have a bias for them to, head lower, and then you can combine that with your your economic calendar to pick out which trading days are going to be best. And then you can break it down to weekly level, daily level. Now, this exact thing that I've told you about the monthly candle is a bit easier to identify, but that's exact same principle can be applied on your weekly time frame, right? We can use a weekly opening price, see how the week opens, what it does it manipulate to a certain level? Does it then displace back through that opening price? Do we have something to target on the other side, a short-term target, and of course a longer-term drawn liquidity? You can do the same day to day on your daily candle, and of course intra-session. If you've watched my trade breakdowns again, this exact same principle would have been played. It would have just been in different words. But specifically, the last video I've said, guys, look, I was so confident the low of the hour is in. We can move our stop loss here, go break even. Everyone's safe and happy. Right? I mentioned that a few times. Having that understanding of how the candle is forming, has it done something valid for you to say, that how the low of this specific candle is in, and you have a target on the other side? It just sets you up for a very easy framework. This is very basic stuff. There's no special concept here that I'm teaching. It's literally how the candles form. You can sit there on a 1 minute time frame and watch candles form, and they will do this. They will open, they will go one way, they will go back through that opening price, expand on this side, and then eventually end back in the range. At least on your expansive candles, right? The candles are delivering expansion. You will see that. But yeah. Hopefully you guys can put that into practice, start referring to your monthly opening price, your weekly opening price, your daily, the midnight open price. These are all things that have been taught, your 4-hour session opening price, even your 1-hour candles at times, right? But do it level by level, build that, build that experience. And of course you guys can put it into play, read it enough, you get me. You'll laugh, it makes your reading price very, very easy. And just generally, get rid of all of this. I'll leave you guys with a quick example. Let's not make the weekly outlook too long. Let's say, for example, in our weekly outlooks, we were saying, we have a range from this low to this high previously, right? So when this specific candle around mid-month in January occurred, this candle opened, manipulated below, right? We'll mark this open quickly and break this down. I'm going to get rid of the other lines just to make things clear. You guys can understand, right? As we came into this candle, we said, look, we're already in a discount. We're sitting in this order block. It's likely we're going to sweep the previous weekly low, and then from here, we are handling the reversal. You come out on your daily time frame. What do you see? You see price run below this, sweep sell side liquidity. So this is definitely some valid, nice manipulation, and then displays the other way. We go even lower time frame. Very, very textbook, guys. You see this, you see the move down, you see the immediate displacement up, you then see price come. Now, would you look at that? Price respects the opening price of the candle, meaning that low wick was created, and now you knew you could target the other side. In the short term, was a good target, this buy side, right? Or even, you could simply say as this daily high, then this daily high. And of course, that's your short-term targets for the weekly expansion. But overall, you knew the expansion, because you're coming from the discount of this large ring, the expansion would ultimately lead to that side. And guess what happened from that low being created? Pretty direct move to the other side. And that was essentially the shape of that weekly candle. The weekly candle ran from here, placed the low very early on the Monday, right? It's not always on the Monday, but this is why we use the weekly opening price to find that significance, right? Then you're not confused saying, oh, it has to be on Monday, Tuesday. No, if price is just faffing about the opening price, then potentially it's just not going to be placed yet, right? You just have to be patient until it's very clear where it's coming from. You think the higher the low is in, and that's it, target the other side. But yeah, guys, I hope all of that makes sense. As usual, any questions, any help, just drop a message down below or on the Telegram chat. And once again, the private membership is open if anybody wants to join. I dropped some details in the Telegram main chat, but I'll repeat them. It's £70 a month. It does include one-to-one Zooms. It has all of this content still being posted on YouTube. But with the actual membership, you get the intraday guidance for your sessions for London and New York, or most days usually, and a few extras. But yeah, guys, if you have any questions, just drop me a message.